Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Meta Cafe for your daily astrology, human design, gene keys, and I pulled an oracle card for us this morning. So I thank you all for being here. I'm hoping you guys can hear me this morning because yesterday my computer went through a major update. And every time that happens, it messes things up for me, at least between my printer and my sound. So if you can hear me, somebody please type in, that you can hear me. And let me know that, because when I started up the program this morning, it wouldn't pick up my mic, or it was telling me that it wasn't picking up my mic. So yes, we can hear you. Lovely. Thank you so much, Mimi. And good morning to you, and good morning, everybody else. So today we have an interesting oracle card. Good morning, Suzanne. And I think I'm going to do the oracle card first, because I really wasn't sure when I pulled this card if it was for me, a message to me, or if it was a message to everyone. Although the question I asked, of course, was tell us something that we need to know. And good morning, Marlene. Thank you, everybody, for telling me that you can hear me. I'm so glad. Must just be something glitchy in the program, not picking up the mic. So the oracle card for the day. I'm sharing this first because we're at the early part of the day, at least for us on the West Coast. And if you've already gotten into a bad habit for the day, you still have time to change it. And here's the card. Upside down, it is the card time for a nap. So let me show it to you right side up first so you can see it. Time for a nap. And you see this adorable little dog, a fox or something, cuddled up with the moon. It's card number 24, time for a nap. But I pulled it in the upside down, or the protection mode. So let's read the card. Number 24, the essential meaning of the card: rest, rejuvenation, and renewal, temporary non-action, allowing dreams to arise. And the protection message says, you are a human being, not a human doing. Is it possible you're suffering from workaholism? Could you be the one who thinks it's your job to save everyone, to be there for everyone, and to go, go, go until you can barely see straight? You've gone as far as you can. You've worked hard and nourished people and projects, but now you are an empty well and have no reserves for others or for yourself. Don't let your ego keep you going full speed when your body and spirit need rest. Exhaustion is calling you to stop what you're doing altogether and take a break. If you don't, the appearance of this card could portend a possible illness that stems from being totally overwhelmed. You will feel like a new person if you take that break. Do it now. Yikes, do it now. So I think that's an interesting card while the moon is still in Pisces, because Pisces is that more dreamy, restful, compassionate sign, and usually pointing compassion and so forth outward to other people. But this appears to be pointing us inward to the need that we all have for rest and relaxation, for taking a break. And I'm betting that a lot of this pushing feeling that the card is comes up from yesterday's, void of course moon, or the day before's void of course moon, where maybe we were trying to push our way through to get something done. Who knows? But if this card resonates with you, then today's that day. Rest as much as you can. Don't push yourself. Take some time for you. It looks like it might be a sunny day here, so I may just go out and sit on my deck with my feet up, reading the book from the lady that I am introducing you all tomorrow. And that sounds like a good thing for me to do, because I already woke up this morning feeling so. You guys want to hear something weird? This happens to me periodically, that I swear I woke up and I was in some alternate universe. I got up. First of all, I woke up and I looked up at the clock, and I saw the clock. It said 6:30, and I went, oh, damn. I usually get up at 6 o'clock, so I have time to get ready and, put together my notes for this morning's broadcast and get it all set up, et cetera, et cetera. And so I get up with the start, and I'm running through the house. I'm thinking my husband's gone and he's not. He walks out of the shower. I'm like, whoa, you're still here. And then he goes, yeah, it's only 5:30. What do you think? Why would I not be here? And I went, 5:30? So I walk back in here and I look up at the clock. I go, oh my God, it's only 5:30. I'm going back to bed. So I get back in bed, and I can't go back to sleep because now I'm awake. And I just had this weirdest feeling like I was walking somewhere in between like two dimensions where I maybe woke up too soon and I wasn't quite here with feet on terra firma. And so if anybody else is feeling that today, you have company, because I am feeling somewhere afloat between the real and the alternate universe of spirit, perhaps. I don't know, but it was very odd. And other things this morning, like I put my coffee, my Seattle Space Needle coffee cup, in the microwave to heat it up because I'm cold this morning. I'm freezing. So I heat my coffee up. I take the mug out of the microwave and it isn't heated up. I went, didn't I push the start button on the microwave? So here I am 30 seconds before airtime, heating up my coffee just so I have something to hold because my hands are cold. It's definitely kind of a weird day. And, today is the day the moon is conjunct Neptune. Neptune is the ruler of Pisces. And remember, there's a grand water trine occurring now between Neptune, Venus, and Jupiter. Venus in the sign of Cancer, Neptune in the sign of Pisces, and Jupiter in the sign of Scorpio. So there's water, 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 water everywhere we go, it seems like, right? With a little bit of air thrown in, and a little bit of earth thrown in, and a little bit of fire thrown in. But water seems to be the energy of the day. So it's emotional, it's deep, it's sometimes that tranquil pool that, we're just falling deep into tranquility and peace. And other days it is the raging torrent, right? So we're somewhere between these extremes today. So maybe for you, you're needing the rest like I do. And I can't even think of what it is that I've been doing instead of being, but the cards usually don't lie. So if that's the case, then after we're done today, everybody go rest, go play. I'm going to write you a permission slip that says, have a great day, go rest. Okay. So we have today another void of course moon, at least if you're on the West Coast. The void of course moon begins at 11:36 p.m. tonight. If you're on the East Coast, that means it starts at 2:36 a.m. tomorrow morning, your time. But it's almost all of the day tomorrow for you on the East Coast, where it doesn't end till 5:26 p.m. For us on the West Coast, it ends at 2:26 p.m. So perhaps what we're seeing then is this energy of rest that's pervasive throughout the sign or throughout the week. And who knows, right? It's all about just being kind to yourself, being generous to yourself. And the flow of these planets through water is a reminder that we are so much more than just these workaholic people that go out and do things, right? We need to be, and sometimes that's more important. Certainly that's what appears to be happening in the sky. Today, the Sun and Mercury are still in a conjunction, and they're squaring all of these watery planets, or squaring at least the moon in Neptune conjunction. So we also have some focus where maybe that's where we're feeling torn between the ego's need to rush out and keep doing and the soul's need to rest and recuperate. So wherever you fall on that spectrum, just remember that you are a human being, and giving yourself time for rest and relaxation, even in the midst of a busy day, is totally and completely possible. All right. So yesterday we ran off and started talking about the gene key, or gate 19 in human design. And we were talking yesterday about the shadow of codependence in that particular gene key. And let me show you again where that is. Let me get my little chart out here. And the 19 is down here in the root center, right here, the very top one right here, leading upward toward gate 49 in the solar plexus. So it's a foundational energy. So this forms a foundation, a connection that we have in human form while we're here on the earth. And of course, the experience of codependency has been very prevalent on the planet. As we talked about yesterday, it has been the main impetus behind our relationship to a God or a religion that is outside of us, rather than claiming the power of our inner world, of our own genius. And let's see, what else did we talk about here? That this was in creating God out there, we forgot completely that we have this dormant power residing within us, that we are in essence God, and the continued search for something outside of us has created a whole rash of codependent type relationships. And now, as this is an evolutionary impulse that is moving through human beings to move from codependence into independence and further on into interdependence, we see the world dividing up into factions, right? Those people who are more spiritual, and this is a slippery slope. Please do not think I'm judging people. That is not it at all. But it is the truth of what's happening out there, where we see, groups of people that are waking up, awakening, and becoming more aware of their spiritual connection to all that is, as opposed to the more limited faction that still relies on religion, whether it's Christianity or any of the religions, the major religions, to show them where they have how to lead their lives. So we are in the process of moving out of that. And as we do, as religion, as Suzanne says, is fading, we become more and more open to becoming more unified, to being in unity, to being in oneness. And organized religion, absolutely. Because there are plenty of religions out there, and I say religion because I don't really, maybe spiritual practices out there that are fully functioning, and each of the individuals in that are fully empowered. There, for instance, many of the pagan religions were, maybe in the old days, they were anthropomorphizing and looking outside of themselves. But the more modern day spiritual disciplines, not necessarily religions, are very much aware of the individual and the power of the individual within the group. So we are seeing some things reflected back to us now that are leading us more toward unity. And I think we also talked about that there was a chemical change going on in the very fabric of our DNA that is literally changing how we see the world, shaking up our foundations, our beliefs. And as a result, as fear has been rippling through the collective, in advance of changes, we see perhaps violence and the result of the fear in violence and so forth. So right now, all we really can do for those of us that are awake is pray peace and keep make sure that you aren't in reaction to the world around you, that you are breathing and choosing what it is that you're going to do, what it is you're going to say, where it is you're going to go, et cetera, et cetera. So that's our quick review around the shadow of the gate 19 or the gene key 19. And now today I want to take us into the gift. For as Richard Rudd, the author of the Gene Key, says, we should be spending 90% of our time on the gift and on the siddhi, and really only 10% of our contemplation on the shadow. So we spent our time on the shadow via the introduction. Let's spend our time now on the gift. First of all, let me take a look out here. See, does anybody have any questions about anything that we talked about yesterday? Good morning, everybody. I don't see anybody I haven't said good morning to, which is awesome. So as we move into the gift here, the gift, remember, in this gene key is the gift of sensitivity. And I'm going to go through several different types of sensitivity that kind of blew me away even this morning as I was rereading all of the information about this particular gene key. Richard does nothing but go deep. He forces you into places like squeezing you through the eye of a needle, where you've got to really dig deep and look at what is really happening here. So the gift is sensitivity. And this is a kind of sensitivity that is highly attuned to the needs of others. The needs of others, highly attuned to the needs of others. So it's not sensitivity necessarily like we would think about, where it's emotional sensitivity, where I might cry if you needle me or something like that. Now, certainly in human design, we look at it that way. These are people who are sensitive to any of the senses that you think of: touch, taste, sight, smells, psychic realms. They're very sensitive to the environment and everything. But literally in this gate of sensitivity, or in this gene key of sensitivity, what we have is the gift of touch. Meaning, a lot of times the people that are prominent with this gene key in their chart are the best gifted healers and therapists that we know, right? Through their hands, they sense, they see color, they feel pain, or they sense pain. And they're what we would think of as gifted therapists or gifted healers. But there's also another sense that comes to mind here, and that is about people who are touched by their ability to tune into the animal kingdoms, to the plant kingdoms, to the pain or the healing needs of the people around them, their families, a tribe, a community. And those are also people that are displaying then the gift of sensitivity. In essence, when we begin to really see this gift moving through the collective, we are tapping into and feeling the environment through all of our senses. Not, have you ever heard of the word synesthesia? Synesthesia is sort of a genetic anomaly that occurs in humans. Sometimes it's brought on by a head injury. Other times it's just a genetic thing where people mix the senses up in a way where they feel the environment through different senses. Like, they may see smells, they may feel colors, right? So it's synesthesia, where instead of seeing things like seeing colors or smelling smells, they have it in, somewhere backwards. And synesthesia is sort of akin to this sensitivity, being able to use the senses, but from multiple sensory positions, right? Being able to see, hear, feel, taste, touch in different ways than we normally think of. They also, this is a gift of being able to sense what's moving through the auric field, whether that's the auric field of an event, of a person, of a plant, of an animal. It doesn't matter. They're sensing the ability. The gate 19 is giving you that ability to sense the auric field. As such, people with this gift are often feeling more of the vital energy that pervades the planet, the prana or the chi energy. And Suzanne just brought up an interesting thought. She said, my 19 is open. And I just want to give everybody a reminder, not that I'm saying, you had this thought, Suzanne, but I just want to remind everybody that you have all of the human design and all of the gene keys, right? You are a complete human being. Just because it's opened means that you haven't got a defined way of dealing with the energy in that gate or in that gene key, not a defined way of dealing with it. You probably pick up things from the people that you're around. So if someone else around you is experiencing the sensitivity through gate 19, you're also picking it up. But the nice thing about having it open is that you are learning to be wise about what that energy is bringing you to, what it is showing you. If it's defined, then you've already established a pattern with this particular energy. If you are a gate 19 who has this defined, let's say you have it defined on the planet Mercury, you may be very sensitive to the words, to the energy behind people's words, whether it is spoken or whether it's written. Right? So sensitivity is here for all of us. It's just a matter of how you are kind of hooked up to be able to feel this energy, use this energy, and reflect that energy to other people. So we have seen this connection to sensitivity in gate 19 through some of the indigenous cultures out there. So remember how Indigenous cultures, they often speak about the spirit of an animal or the spirit of a plant or the spirit of the land. Indigenous cultures tended to live in more sensitive areas. They were more attuned to the intermingling of all of the spheres, right? All of the spheres, all of the realms, if you will. And that is something that we see more and more people are drawn to the indigenous cultures, right? To going back to, I'm going to quote, air quote these, the old ways. And the reason we would be that way is because we're recognizing that we cut ourselves off in some way from that more magical energy, from that dream time magic. You know, the Aborigines in Australia, they talk about the dream time. And maybe that's what I was experiencing this morning, is that idea of that dream time kind of just right here, parallel with our real time, right? And our ability to tap into all of these different realms. Shamans are very sensitive to this as well. So often when I see gate 19 defined on someone's human design chart or in their gene key hologenetic profile, what I see is that they're often very much engaged in the shamanic world, right? Cindy, you are new to me, Cindy Mitchell. She says, wow, that makes sense. So I am not defined. I am open to those around me, which means I am more sensitive. And guess what, Cindy? And welcome, by the way. And I love that little picture of the baby that you're holding in your profile picture. Absolutely adorable. The people who have it open, anywhere you have openness in your human design, you are more sensitive to what's going on around you. Having said that, it means that you are also more likely conditioned by the energy that is going on around you, right? The family you were raised in, the culture you're raised in, the society you live in, the ideas that we have about education and culture and religion and all of those things are conditioning all of us. But wherever it is that we have that openness in our chart is where we are more likely to express the incorrect energy. So it's very important when you have openness in your chart to understand, yes, you are very sensitive, but what is it you're expressing? And is it the truth of who you are, or are you expressing somebody else's truth? So that's a very important point, a very important thing to distinguish in once you start really learning about your own human design and your own profile as it relates to the gene keys. All right. So shamans, again, sensitive to other worlds and other realms, and they're able to do that and bring us back information from those realms. There are two other gene keys, by the way, or two other gates in human design. They're interchangeable words in their gifts that have access also to these other realms, including the angelic realm, including the Devic realm, including the fairy realm. So when, the parallel dimensions to our own dimension. So if you are expressing the gene keys gift of sensitivity, you may be very sensitive to that realm, right? Any one of them. And somebody who is expressing the lower frequency, and again, not a judgment, but the lower frequency may be very connected or able to tap into that more demonic realm as well, or the lower frequency spiritual realm. I don't really think there are demons. Maybe there are. I don't know. I'm not an expert there, but I do believe that sometimes people tap into that more darker energy. But it is also energy that exists alongside the parallel experiences of the angels and of the fairies, etc. So hearing voices is also a part of the experience when you have this particular gate or gene key defined, or even just being open to it. There are many times that in my life, and I don't carry this gene key defined, it's open in my chart. And I don't have the opposite side either. So this is a completely open channel in my design. But there are many times that I'm lying down or I'm sitting down and I hear music and there isn't any music playing. So I usually at that point ask about what is the message, or I ask who's playing. Often it has been my Cherokee grandmother who has come through to me with the drum beats that I hear, or the musical percussion that I hear. Other times it has been the spirits of other people. So even though I have that completely open, I have been very sensitive to hearing voices or hearing music from the other realms. Now, I want to show you another point that's very interesting, because a lot of this is, we're seeing this in our outer world. And do you guys remember a show called The Dog Whisperer? Or I think there was a book or something about the horse whisperer. There's this idea, and it's floating through our outer world, about whisperers. And these are people that are very sensitive to the voices from the animal kingdom. And we call them whisperers because they're able to interpret for us what it is that the animal kingdom is speaking to us about. So a dog whisperer, right? He's able to communicate. He's able to hear and sense what the animal or dog is communicating, but he's also able to communicate back at their level a message from our world. So we have this, it's an interesting outer world instance of the fact this gene key is really activating, where sensitivity is becoming more prominent out there in the world when we see our culture reflecting to us things like whisperers, because that's a very interesting part of this particular gene key. This is also where psychics are often gaining some of their sensitivity. There is a gate of psychic energy in the chart. It's on the spleen. It's literally called the gate of intuition, but it is another place where energy is gained through, or knowledge, knowingness is gained through the other senses. But psychics, when I see somebody, here's something just you can look at your own chart and see. When I see somebody with a gate 57 on the spleen defined, on an open spleen with gate 19, I am fairly certain that this person is engaged in the psychic realms in some way, shape, or form, because those three things are highly sensitive, right? Their senses are ramped up. They're probably highly sensitive to their environment, to toxins in the environment, to toxic relationships in their environment. So that just gives you an idea. If you look at your own chart, gate 57, which is on the spleen, an open spleen, and gate 19 defined, could possibly mean that you're also highly sensitive. And there are other markers, of course, as well. So people out in our outer world who use their heightened sensitivity to bridge the spiritual dimension to things like money, work, abundance, relationships, are also working this gate 19, or working through the energy of sensitivity. It's sometimes their very presence causes us to focus on these things, focuses that energy in a very interesting way. And gate 19 sensitivity. I'm going to read you a quote. Actually, I'm going to get to the book because I wrote the quote, but I want to really make sure I'm reading it with Richard's words, because I thought the closing to this was so fantastic. Literally, here we go. This gift, the gift of sensitivity, truly spans all realms, and its future function, as we shall see, is to collapse the barriers that separate them, thus fusing together the ancient magical realms with the modern material plane. I'm going to read it again. This gift truly spans all realms, and its future function, as we shall see, is to collapse the barriers that separate them, thus fusing together the ancient magical realms with the modern material plane. So those of us out there who consistently talk about magic, we're tapping into that magical realm, but we find ourselves rooted right here physically on the earth. And remember, like I said, gate 19 is on the root center. This is somehow lost magic, right? This is lost energy, and we're recouping it. We're rediscovering it. We're re-expressing it. So anyway, it's just a magical thing, right? These gene keys take us so deep. And here's something else I meant to preface this with this morning. If you don't have this book already, try to get this book, The Gene Keys by Richard Rudd, Unlocking the higher purpose hidden in your DNA. Yours won't look like mine. I got mine way back in 2013 or 2014, whichever. And it's now a white book with a dragonfly on the front with the DNA strand. It's a different book, but it is still the same book. I mean, different cover, same book. So the reason I would say that this is something you should get, because what I'm sharing with you this morning and every morning basically is is a result of my own contemplation of these energies, of these gates, of these gene keys, right? My own contemplation. And I often go back to that book and I bring Richard's words forward in order for it to stay as pure as possible. But I also encourage each of you to go through each of these gene keys that I share with you and do your own contemplation of it. Find out what its true meaning is for you, right? You may find that you resonate with these energies in a completely different way than what I do. And the only way you'll know that is to go through it, right? And remember that I've told you many times that this is not a book that you read cover to cover, although you might eventually in your lifetime read it from cover to cover. I'm pretty sure I've been through every gene key, but I don't know that I've ever really contemplated every gene key, right? I move through the gene keys following some invisible path that is mine alone. And then I share that with you all. I encourage you to go through the gene keys for your own, find your own pathway through this, and see how you come back with some really interesting ahas, epiphanies, and information that's key for you. Okay. Let's see what other people are saying here. Cindy, let's say here, I had my human design done, but I found that I put the wrong time into it and had it redone. I've been searching this all for some time to find my answers, and this makes sense. How do you find if you're expressing your truth or another's? Good question. Deep within each one of us is the truth of who we are designed to be. 9 times out of 10 will be doing a reading with someone on their human design, and some kind of light bulb goes off, and they often go, I knew that, right? I knew that about myself. But because of conditioning, because of the outer world pressures, they found themselves engaged in energy other than, or living a lifestyle other than what was their truth. So Cindy, the easy answer is inside you are all the answers. And depending on what your authority is in your chart, and the authority, let me just show you where you can find that, is down at the bottom, right? You see over here, inner authority, or it may just say authority depending on what program you're using. And you see that it has a phrase over here. This person's is sacral expressed generated. And essentially that means that they are using the sacral. At the moment there's something to respond to, the sacral is engaged and it's telling them, or kind of a pulling forward or a pushing away. Some people are emotional authority, and emotional authority is about what feels good to you, what makes you happy. And that's a difficult one because no one prepared us in our lives, at least our older population, including me, was never prepared for anybody telling us to do what felt good. I don't remember my mom or my dad or anybody in my life telling me that ever. Right? Do what feels good, Janet. No, it's do what makes money, Janet. Do what it makes sense for you to do. What's going to bring you a foundation, yada, 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 whether it felt good or not. But if you're emotionally defined, it has to feel good. And you will know when you're out of sync with yourself because it won't feel good. One time, I think I've told this story before where I decided I needed a job instead of being an astrologer. And I sat in my car every day crying at lunchtime. I knew, right? And if my emotions were telling me you are in the wrong place. And there are other authorities. Sometimes you have splenic authority. If you have splenic authority, you are intuitive. You have knowingness, right? If you have that, you have knowingness. You know when you're being false, right? You know deep within you. And the best way to do this is to really get a human design reading or have somebody, update your human design to make sure you are living according to you and not someone else's. Take a look at your human design chart. Look at where the open areas are, because those are the places in this particular test chart, right? The open centers, that's the first place I would look, is the head center and the will center and the emotional center. So if that's the case, that those three places are the places I would look first for where you are living out of authenticity, right? The open head center is often being pressured to answer questions like how, when, what, where, can you prove it, right? Questions that aren't even being asked really of them, but they're feeling pressured to answer those questions. And they become inspired by things that aren't even really theirs to take action on. So in an open head center, you may take action on things that you were inspired to from up here. But like you said, Cindy, your authority is in the emotional center. And maybe it did feel good in the moment, but the one thing we know about emotions is it has an energy that flows. It has a high and then it has a low. And so you don't know for sure where you are on that emotional wave. So you have to keep checking in with yourself to see if this action really does feel good. Or was it just that moment I was in abject joy and now I'm down here in the low and I'm like, what did I do? Right. So, rather than going through each of these centers, maybe that's a webinar that we can do at some point in time to talk about all of these different centers and when they're open and when they're defined. But it is those open places, those white places in your chart where you are more than likely going to be, at least in first, expressing yourself based on who you are around, who's completing your energy. Once you're aware of it, though, then you always have the choice to choose, is this mine or is this not mine? Is this coming from the field? Is this coming from the people I'm hanging around with, right? Someone with an open emotional center is empathic. They're picking up the emotional energy from all around them. And that causes them to try to placate and try to make other people happy instead of making themselves happy. So good morning, Ginger. It's good to see you out there. She says, yes, seminar. Okay, well, I guess that's what I'm going to be doing. Let's see. There were other comments. Marlene says, okay, Cindy, thank you. Suzanne, yes, love that book. Yes, Cindy saying, I am emotional authority and it is hard. I have emotional authority. I am with you, sister. And it's, yikes. Well, anyway. Cindy, also Janet, how do I have you redo mine? Can I just go to the website and have it redone? I put the wrong time in it. I don't remember your name, Cindy, so I don't think I did yours, but you can certainly go to my website. I'm going to put it up here and living-astrology.com. There we go. That is my website. Why didn't it show? Because I didn't click show. Amazing how that works. Once you get to the website, just scroll down a little bit and you're going to see these little squares. One says request a free human design chart. You can request that chart, put your correct information in, and I will send you a new chart. If you choose to, you can have a new reading even. And I have two types of readings, one that is a complete look at your chart and the other one that goes through your type, strategy, and authority and your profile in more depth. You can take your choice, whichever you want to do. And then Ginger, I already said that. Yes, seminar. Cindy, okay, thank you. That was my next question. How do you change this? Do we have the choice? Yes, I did yours. I did your reading or I did your chart. Maybe you need to contact me after the broadcast this morning and we can work that out because we want you to have the right chart. Energy. A lot of the teachers of human design out there are very aware that we are undergoing a very profound evolutionary change within our human template, within our human design. And that is that we are moving from the preponderance of fears that we've lived with, the energies of survival, and we are moving over to the emotional center. So the emotional center is gaining in importance, and understanding how that center works is huge. When it's open, you have to learn to let these things flow through you, these emotional energies. You have to be like the screen door the screen, not the door, right? When you have it defined, you have to learn to tap into, what am I feeling? Am I feeling good about this? Am I feeling happy? What do I always say? The emotional center, when it's defined, is seeking clarity over time. It doesn't happen in the moment, where people who have it open do know in the moment. So it's an interesting dynamic dilemma. Suzanne says the awakening. Yes, but it was my fault. I put the wrong time in. It's okay. It's all right. We'll fix that. Send me the correct time and I will get you a new chart. And if I've done your chart before, I have it and I can look at that and see what the major differences are, if there are any. I mean, if you're only off by a few minutes to even just an hour or two in your time of birth, it's not going to make a huge impact. But 12 hours, that might be a big problem, right? If you thought you were at 12 a.m., but you were really at 12 p.m., that's, going to reverse the moon and some other things. So we got to look at that. So anyway, that is all I have for everybody this morning. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for your support. It means a lot to me. I love all of you. We'll see you tomorrow. I am having a guest tomorrow. Let me just remind you of her. I wrote down the title of her book because yesterday I couldn't quite remember all the words in the right order. You were off by a lot. Okay, Cindy. So yeah, send me the new one. Tomorrow, our guest is Rebecca Eigen, and she is the author of the book, The Shadow Dance and the Astrological Seventh House. So again, another astrologer whose specialty is relationships, and she is focusing on also the Jungian archetypes, the shadows. And of course, we do that almost every day anyway, as we talk about the shadow, the siddhi, or the shadow, the gift, and the siddhi through the gene keys. So this is right up our alley, and I can't wait to talk to her. So tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock, we will have her with us. Thank you again. Mwah! Love you all and have a great day. Remember, our card, take a nap. Bye for now.